what also concerns me a little bit is I've been getting emails from lenders saying that the loan rate has increased. Have you heard about this? The jumbo rate has increased.
Oh,
There's
yeah, it's higher
loan
now.
limits
You can borrow more
and put down less.
Right.
Okay.
Is that really the scenario?
I'm going to say that
in?
again. You are now able to borrow more and put down less. And we should be, are we cheering this?
We should be reversing.
Are we applauding this? Now, there's something to be said about we should, take every step to make home ownership more accessible. But you need to be able to afford the house to make it more accessible. You should not be buying a house if you can't afford the payments. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about 270,000 home buyers who are now underwater on their mortgage.
Of course.
We're going to be talking about the top 10 cities for real estate in 2023.
Okay.
And then we're going to get into 3 properties and whether Shawn Battle is in or out on the 3 properties. One of them is literally an old town square. Another one has to do with dinosaurs. And a third one's a historical property, and I know how you feel about old properties. But, yeah, the price may be right for that property. That's so let's start with an article from Yahoo Money. 270,000 homebuyers who bought in 2022 are underwater on their mortgage. Underwater on their mortgage simply meaning they owe more on the property than the property is worth. Now, these are home buyers who bought during the pandemic. These are home buyers who bought in 2021. These are home buyers who may have even bought in the first couple months of 2022. And Shawn, I'm reading these articles, and I think what we're going to find is a lot more of these articles coming out. A lot more articles that say, if you bought a house, you have now lost money. Or if you bought a house, it's going to be hard to sell. Or if you bought a house, you are now underwater on your mortgage. And what should we take away from this article? Are you surprised by it? What is this bode for the future if these people are going to be selling? And what are your thoughts when you see almost 300,000 Americans owe more money than their house is worth?
I'm not surprised at all. We had seen a rise in prices unprecedented throughout the United States. These are markets that are small, that had never seen competing contracts before. There were agents we were talking to at the time that had never written a competitive contract like this. They're used to markets that take months and months to sell. And all of a sudden, because of interest rates being low and a shortage of homes, they were seeing an unprecedented rise in prices. And what we've said many times is those kind of cities will see the drop in prices the quickest. We didn't realize it was going to be as quick as it was. I knew it was going to happen. This couldn't have gone on forever. It was just insane. But we weren't expecting it to drop so quickly. And it did. And it was all because of interest rates. That's the one thing that stopped it. And, inflation, we've talked about this many times. Inflation, interest rates. Those interest rates have stopped the market. So now all these people that are trying to buy, boom, drop. Like we were talking about before, iBuyers. What are they doing? They're like panic selling. They're basically fire selling a lot of their properties. They put it on the market, doesn't sell, drop it 10. Doesn't sell that week, drop it 10 more, 10K more. What's that doing to values? It's crushing values for everybody because now it's the last comp is what matters in a lender's eyes. So I'm not surprised by this at all. I knew it was going to happen. I don't think we were expecting it to happen so quickly. Now, the other thing is, and this is why we say sometimes it's good to put 20% down. It's good to put at least 10% down. The people that are doing FHA, 100%, or FHA VA loans, you could do 100%, no down payment. Of course, they're going to fluctuate up and down with the market. And so what happens in the future? Mr. Homeowner, you bought with 100%. You've now dropped 20%. How are you going to come up with this money when you go to sell it? Or you better be staying a long time. Otherwise, you're short selling it, and there goes your credit, there goes your buying power in the next 3 to 5 years. You're not going to be able to.
Many of the home buyers in the past few years have been millennials. They've entered the prime home buying age, essentially. And, this is a generation that has just been beaten over the head with you need to buy a house. The parents of millennials grew up in a time, when houses were $75,000 and $175,000. And the notion has always been buy a house. The American dream is to buy a house. And for many, that is the American dream. Shawn, do you think the millennials and other home buyers that have now bought a house in the past 24 or 48 months, do you think that their plan was to sell in the next couple of years? Like, do you think going in, they were like, oh, prices are rising, I need to get in because they're always going to rise? And I know how that sounds, but, if you're a millennial or Gen Z, you really didn't live through, the stock market crash of, we were like 18, 19. So maybe, some families out. Obviously I'm walking it back now, but obviously, essentially what I'm saying is we weren't adults. Yeah. Right? Like
you didn't have the experience
in college. We were trying to find jobs and, our parents were affected, but, we certainly weren't in the foreclosures, right? We certainly weren't the ones buying and losing houses. So, my roundabout question is, did the people buy in the past 2 years, did they see the writing on the wall? Did they know that prices were not sustainable, or were they thinking, all right, I'm just going to get in, and in the next 10 years, things are always going to rise?
Probably a lot of both. The thing is, I was a millennial back in 2005. I was a Gen Xer, right? And in 2005, I was seeing the same thing, the rise in prices. And I was one of those buyers that said, I got to get in now or else I'm never going to be able to buy. And guess what happened a couple of years later? Boom, it stopped. Everything stopped. And it took years to recover, years. And so what I'll say to the buyers that just bought, don't panic right now. If you bought sensibly and you were thinking, all right, I'm going to live here 5-10 years, you're good. If you were thinking, I'm going to flip this in a year or two, you're not going to be able to, for the most part. You're going to have to sit and stay and just wait for it to recover. It will recover. It'll come back. And why do I believe that? It's because I believe once we get inflation in grasp, right, the interest rates will start falling down. And then the other thing is we still have a national shortage of homes everywhere. If you look there's not a lot out in the market. And honestly, the stuff that's out there is like, it's all right. It's been sitting there for a while. We don't have any good new properties coming to market. And if they do come to market, they probably will sell. So the thing is, it's going to recover. It's going to take a little bit of time. But with that shortage and then the drop of interest rates, you're going to see that rise hopefully back. The people I struggle with, again, are the smaller towns that saw the rise.
Well, going off of, when to sell, the best time to buy a house is when you're, financially able and, when you're ready to live in it for 3 to 7 years. Because I'm of the mindset that this doesn't matter. Your property value doesn't matter until it comes time to sell. So who cares if you're underwater on your massive house that you and your significant other just moved into if you think you're going to live there for the next 20 years? Now, your plans change and a job transfer happens, time to start caring. And what also concerns me a little bit is I've been getting emails from lenders saying that the loan rate has increased. Have you heard about this? The jumbo rate has increased.
Oh, There's it's higher now. You can borrow more
and put down less.
Right.
Okay.
Is that really the scenario?
I'm going to say that again. You are now able to borrow more and put down less. And are we cheering this?
We should be reversing.
Are we applauding this? Now, there's something to be said about we should, take every step to make home ownership more accessible, but you need to be able to afford the house to make it more accessible. You should not be buying a house if you can't afford the payments.
Yeah, and I think lenders do a great job in that. I mean, they're strict. That's the one difference between 2005, 2008 compared to right now is that lenders have much more strict guidelines. And so I think most of these buyers are well qualified. The ones that they're talking about a lot in this article are the FHA buyers. The buyers that go the FHA route usually, and this isn't always the case because there are some programs that just are better at the FHA level. But if you have like a lower credit score or something, you can't get that conventional A-paper loan, you go towards that FHA paper. And that FHA, those are the people that are hurting right now because they probably put 3-5% down instead of 10 to 20% down. So naturally, those people that put less down are going to be underwater. Now, here's the crazy thing. Think about all of the people that purchased homes and they put money down and they were going to renovate the house. They didn't have the money to renovate, but in the future, they were thinking, you know what I'm going to do is a home equity line of credit. So I bought this house for $600,000. I put, 5% down. That's, whatever. And now I was hoping that property values were increasing, or even if you put $200,000 or $100,000 down and you see a drop in price, now you can no longer get as much on that HELOC. And that's where I think, and this actually happened to me. I had a HELOC. One of my loans was a HELOC, and they actually stopped it. They said, your value's too low. Boom, it's gone. You can no longer borrow against your house. And so this could start happening as well. So all the people that thought that they were going to do the renovation and they were going to lump these costs into, the equity in their home, they might find themselves living in an old home with, crappy appliances for a little bit longer.
I'm gonna say a double negative. There can't not be motivated sellers in the very near future, right? If you bought during the pandemic, during 2020, when things started to ramp up, it's not unreasonable for houses to sell 2 years later, 3 years later, a year later. You know what? That house on Fillmore that I tried very, very hard to sell, we didn't sell, just missed the market. A comp which sold at the same time that we were on the market, now back on the market.
Is it really?
It's sold for, don't quote me on it, but it sold for something like $775 in June of 2022. Mm-hmm. So think about interest rates, June 2022, $775, now on the market for $825. Oh. Tell me that they're not going to get that.
They're not going to get it. I mean, did they do anything to the interior? And that's the question. Have they done the renovations to say that, yeah, my property value is now worth $50,000 more, because actually it's worth $50,000 less, buddy.
They didn't do anything to the 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
One level house.
$699, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, dude, this is the problem. People think that they know what they're doing, and they take a chance. And sometimes that chance is the wrong answer. And I've done it plenty of times in my life, and everybody's going to make mistakes. But this is the problem now. You're trying to sell a home a year. Look, real estate is not, for the most part, is not a long or short-term investment. It should be a long-term investment unless you're flipping properties. But we've now seen how the iBuyers and the short-term investment and the flipping has gone too. So everything can go south, just like the stock market and everything else. And that's what you need to always think about. I think about all the builders that have lots and all the people that are overextending themselves to buy second homes or whatever. And then, the market just doesn't keep increasing. And then they're like, oh no, I got to sell. Like some of these Airbnb people, right? They may have bought in the height of the market, and now Airbnb is kind of like, the market's flooded. There's a lot of Airbnbs out there. So they're not making the income that they thought they were going to make because there's a lot more competition in that Airbnb market. So what's happening? They're like, all right, well, am I going to be able to sell this thing now? Because I'm not making the money. I can't cover this payment anymore. I thought I was going to be able to because I thought I was going to make X. Now I'm making Y and I'm short. So now they're going to try to sell, and they're not going to be able to make up that difference. They're going to lose the money that they put into the property. But a lot of people would just say, you know what? I'm scared and I'm out. I'll take the loss.
I hate to say it, but I think short-term real estate investing for short-term rentals might be the new Bitcoin. It might be the new NFT, where it was like the investment of 2021, right? Or the investment of 2022.
It really was. But the thing is, they're still out there. But like Matt, you have to do the research, and you have to research like crazy and have a plan and know what you're going to do and know how much money you think you can get for these properties. And Matt's doing really well. But there are definitely people that didn't do the research that Matt has the ability to do. and you're going to find yourself in problems. And a lot of these, like we've mentioned before, is the Sun Belt. A lot of people have bought there. I want to buy there, but I'm holding off. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, some people are saying it's going to be a rough 2023 for a while, at least for the first half of the year, and then things should be coming back. I'm going to be watching because I definitely do want to buy. And you know, you can't time it. Even me and Matt being in this market all the time, knowing things, naturally, we're not always going to buy here either. We're looking at different markets, but it's really difficult to time it. And again, you just have to do it when financially it looks right and your life says, let's do it.
It's December. Now's the time when people start making predictions. I don't know if I want to make predictions on the market, but what I do want to say is the buyers and the sellers, they are in this game of chicken, and one of them is going to break very soon. And I don't think it's going to be the buyers. Right. So that's my prediction. Now, in the hyper local market of Northern Virginia, inventory is still extremely low, so it may not be to the price dropping extent that some of the buyers out there are hoping for, but at the end of the day, I think sellers are going to have to sell more than buyers are going to have to buy. Does that make sense? The motivation for sellers when you're moving across the country is to get rid of that thing, whereas buyers have a little more flexibility.
Yeah, they have all of the power right now for the most part. And like you're right, the hyper local area around us is still pretty good. I mean, we're seeing properties sell. I went to see 2 properties last week. I was looking for an investment property. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start getting my feet wet. I'm going to start a new LLC, and I'm going to start investing in these properties. And I went to both of them, and I'm like, my God, they were junky, right? But I was looking at them to redo them. And I'm thinking of lowballing them. One was owned by Open Door, and I was like, okay, I can lowball this one. It's a big corporation. They're losing money. But within a couple of days of me looking at that property, 2 days, it was under contract.
Well, we should also say that the price dropped how much since listing it?
Oh, a lot.
Like $100,000.
Yeah, and I was still
maybe close to
going to go. Yeah, it was down, I want to say, probably 80,000.
It started at what, 490?
No, you know what? No. I think it was starting in the mid 4s because it was a 2-level townhouse. So it was in the mid 4s. It had dropped to
409.
409.
And then you were going to go.
And I was just going to go lowball in the mid 3s. Yeah. Just to see what would happen. But sometimes you can do that if you have a quick cash offer to get it done, and flip it around, then it's possible. But that's the only way you're going to get it done. But that's the thing. Right now, there are those opportunities where you can look at certain properties and say, all right, we have a chance here to get it at a good deal. But both properties under contract.
All right. Well, speaking of not making predictions for 2023, we are going to take a look at the top real estate markets of 2023 by Realtor.com and comment on someone else's predictions for the 2023 market. And Shawn, Realtor.com had their economics, 5 different economics experts that work for Realtor.com take a look at cities across the nation in terms of year over year sales growth in terms of number of sales, and then year over year price growth in terms of average sales price. So we're looking at percent increase in sales and then percent increase in price. So they have come up with a top 10 list. Now, they are predicting overall the United States is going to be 14% down on sales growth and then 5% up on price, coming to a negative 8.7% combined growth. Now, these top 10 cities, they're not going to be New York City, right? They're not going to be Washington, D.C., not going to be L.A., San Francisco, Miami. They're going to be cities that have opportunity for growth, right? They're not going to be like the traditional established cities.
Right. Okay, cool.
So with that being said, let me just fly through 10 through 5. I don't think you're going to get... I don't even know if you've been to any of these cities.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. Number 10, Toledo. 9, Chattanooga. 8, Columbia, South Carolina. 7, Grand Rapids, Michigan. 6, Augusta, Richmond County, Georgia. And then 5, Buffalo. So, Shawn, these are all either growing in terms of number of sales and then growing in terms of sales prices. And then, obviously you bring up the secondary and tertiary cities.
These are the ones I'm talking about.
But there's some, disassociation here. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a difference here. You're saying maybe not specifically these cities, but you're saying these types of cities are going to be hit the hardest because they haven't seen the levels of growth and the job opportunities that maybe some larger cities have seen. So Shawn, when you hear, cities like Chattanooga, Columbia, Grand Rapids, I've been to Columbia, would not have predicted it to be on the list, but I helped out someone who moved from Columbia. He's like, yeah, I just sold my house for $150,000, and it was like a new construction, like 3-bedroom townhouse. So when you see cities like this, what comes to mind?
The complete opposite, honestly. I don't see it. I don't know these cities as well, but Toledo, Ohio is a tiny town in Ohio. I grew up in Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh. So I know of the area, but I don't know what would be causing that growth. We've already seen the great migration. We've seen it happen because of the pandemic, and it was unprecedented, and it caused different markets to go crazy because people are like, hey, I can go back, move back home and work from DC and still make a decent amount, So I don't know. I think I'm in the opposite opinion of this. And where is their data coming from? How old is their data? And that's another thing that you always have to be mindful of. Realtor.com should be up on the data, but again, they're going to be 30 days behind. I don't know. I'd kind of go against this.
I love the contrarian view. I kind of trust Realtor.com's data. I don't know if like these predictions will come to fruition, but like some of the statistics that we've seen on how some of these websites do studies, we're like, this is baloney.
Yeah.
This one does look somewhat legitimate, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in like Toledo and Chattanooga. I do know Chattanooga is commanding a lot of tech presence in Tennessee. So some of these cities, they do have, job opportunities and big corporations and like very great reasons to move there. I mean, Toledo might be a little cold, but like Chattanooga, Columbia, Augusta County, nice warm cities. Then we get into Buffalo. Let's do the top 5. Okay. So we have Buffalo at 5, Worcester, Massachusetts at 4, Louisville at 3, El Paso, Texas at 2, and then Hartford, Connecticut comes in at the top spot with a predicted sales growth year over year of 6.5%, and then a predicted price growth of 8.5% for a combined growth of 15%.
Hartford, Connecticut. Well, I can see Hartford, but you think they'll bring back the Whalers if that happens?
They need to.
Yeah.
Well, they brought back the retro jerseys, the reverse retro jerseys, so that's a start.
Yeah, bring back the Whalers. If they see that kind of growth, then they should. How far is Hartford from New York?
Well, Hartford is about 90 minutes south of Boston. Okay. I don't.
So it's more Boston. Yeah.
I don't know the distance from New York off the top of my head.
I could see that. That is a little area that the Northeast corridor that has been booming for a long time. Boston prices are huge. New York prices are huge, and anything in the middle should be booming. And I would agree with that. I think Hartford is probably a good prediction.
And it also, has an average sales price of like in the 400s.
Yeah, so, and everybody else, like Boston's 700 and New York is more than that. So like that's kind of that middle where people are, pushing out to and to say, hey, I can get a lot less. I get more for my money out here. I'm going to do it because my job's allowing me to.
It's not unreasonable to grow from like 425 to 450 or something like that. Whereas, some of the, larger markets, you'd have to see that substantial pre-pandemic or, mid-pandemic growth. Yeah. So
I like it. I mean, I don't agree with some of these, but again, I don't know what job growth is in these places. I don't know, a lot of these areas, as far as I've never been to most of them. So I can't predict on the way that maybe Realtor.com that has done this research. I predict based on, what I'm seeing on the market as a whole in the United States in those smaller cities that could be hurt.
There are job growth statistics out there publicly available. Hartford, November 2022 median home price $372. El Paso, which is in second, median home price $291. So a lot of these are in the sub 300 price points, and they're good cities. Like you go to Louisville, Kentucky. I've never been, but I wouldn't not necessarily be opposed to go. And also if you're a real estate investor, it could be a good place to buy up some property as well.
Absolutely, those are ones to watch for sure.
All right, let's get into in or out, whether Shawn Battle is in or out on 3 properties. Shawn, you ever seen a movie called Jurassic Park?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, allow me to introduce you to 61 Joy Road in Washougal, Washington. This 3-bed, 2-bathroom house for $1.3 million is called the Jurassic Retreat, and it'll become quite clear because they have life-size animatronic dinosaurs on the property. They have close to maybe 10 dinosaurs. They have a Jeep. They have a hot tub with a dinosaur, in a cage, like behind the hot tub. It is, currently for sale. They have a T-Rex skull when you walk into the house. They were clearly big fans, and they have, some memorabilia, throughout the house. Shawn, are you in or out on the Jurassic Retreat?
Oh man, this is a tough one. I'm gonna say I'm in, Matt. I'm gonna buy this one. Yeah, I like it. They didn't go too crazy. If you're looking at the pictures, it's actually a really nice house inside. They've got some kitschy things here and there. You got some dinosaur head coming out of a wall. But, it could be fun for the kids. Let's go on a tour. Let's get in that original Ford Explorer, and let's go in the back and go through the trails and have a little fun.
So you got a couple options here, okay?
Yeah.
So you could buy it for 1.3.
Okay.
Or, Shawn and Shawn's favorite commenter out there, you could rent it on Airbnb because it is already on Airbnb.
Saved.
You can rent it for about $334 a night. It does have pretty iffy reviews, 4.85. I do notice it's managed by a property management company. I'm noticing a couple things that they could do.
Matt, the expert in
I'm gonna
Airbnbs
maybe I'll get into like Airbnb
it.
consult. That's like the most 2022 thing ever. It's like have an Airbnb for 1 month and then decide like you're an Airbnb expert and like sell a course.
Yeah.
Right? Like who do I think I am? Oh, I'm just gonna be an Airbnb consultant because I've done this for 2 months.
Yeah.
I need to
humble. Look at the price. It was $414 a night. Now it's $334 a night. I know. All right, tell me about
it. Well, they're getting your attention there. So, clearly you can stay, for the weekend, or you can purchase it. I am so in. I'm so in on themes. I like Washington State. I don't know if I'd like it in the snow, but I think northern areas in the summer. Upstate New York, Seattle, Quebec, all amazing.
And that's the thing is, I don't go up there enough. The summer up there is like amazingly gorgeous. Just sitting on those Finger Lakes or wherever. I mean, I have to go more often.
You make it up to Pittsburgh and then you stop.
That's the truth. I have gone up to Lake Erie, which is nice. Lake Erie is beautiful. It's freaking cold though. That water is cold all the time, but it's beautiful. It's nice and clear. But I'd love to get up into the Finger Lakes, up into New York a little further. And I've never been to Seattle, Washington area. No.
All right, Shawn, let's move on to the next house. This comes to us from Realtor.com. House of Steel, rare Lustron home in Ohio, is listed for $219,000. So Lustron was a product that they used back in the wartime when they wanted to quickly manufacture homes for soldiers returning from war. So between 1948 and 1950, about 2,500 Lustron homes were built. And it's essentially an all-steel house. It's, you see the paneling there. It's a quicker way to build a house. They stopped doing it because the company that was, producing it, fell on hard times, in 1950. But, it's historical. The current owners have kept, a lot of the main details and, upgraded many aspects of it, but kept, the original paneling and whatnot. And it's rare, Shawn. There's only, 2,500 of them, and they don't come up for sale often. So are you in or out on a Lustron home for $219,000 in Columbus, Ohio?
Columbus, Ohio. First time I've heard of Lustron or Lustron or whatever it is. I think I'm in on this because it's a tiny house. It's small. But, I'm from Pittsburgh. And, where was the steel made back then? It was made in Pittsburgh and Ohio and that Rust Belt. They call it the Rust Belt now.
Oh, yeah.
But it was when I was growing up, man, we were coughing up smoke. It was bad. I can still remember the smell. When I was young, I'd wake up and I'd go outside and I'm like, the smell of factories. Seriously.
It smell of factory in the morning.
It smelled like factories. And there was another thing. There was this slag dump that is now a Walmart. But it was the largest man-made mountain for a long time. It was a slag dump. They would just go and dump the slag after the mill, and they created this mountain, and we could see it out of our back window.
Dump the what?
The slag.
What is
It's
slag?
it's like the leftover stuff from the steel.
Okay.
Red hot, right? It would come in red hot. So they dump it, and it would flare up when they dumped it and light up the sky, and we could see it from our house. Pretty crazy.
Did that add value to your property?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah? Picturesque view of the slag on fire?
And this wasn't close. I mean, this is a few miles away, so it wasn't like, hey, we're looking straight in a slag dump. But that thing was sitting there for so long, and we were like it was really high. And they finally, now there's trees on it and a Walmart and everything else. So they've dug back into it. But anyways, that's why I'm in, because this comes from my heart and soul of the Pittsburgh region and the Ohio region. I'm buying the Lustron house.
Maybe it is called Lustron. I have no idea.
We don't know.
2 or 3 bedroom models. This one is 1,100 square feet. It's on half an acre. Shawn, I'm out. It's, whether it's a 2 bedroom or a 3 bedroom, at 1,100 square feet for a single family detached house, people don't have 5 shirts anymore. If I was just one person, like, I could live in this house. But you ever go to a house and it was like built for like someone who doesn't have any clothes and doesn't like leave the same room? Like, I need a little more space. The condo that we're in is significantly larger than this house. I'm out. 219. Now, if this was a Sears Roebuck home, maybe I'm in. Maybe I'm more of a Sears guy than a Lustron kind of guy.
You're a spoiled Sears guy.
Maybe that the haters out there will say, hey, well, Sears didn't have too much closets anyway.
Yeah, no,
they
didn't.
Care.
They didn't. Now, what if this was a wooden structure built from the oak and maple trees of the Syracuse area?
Oh, hold on. Now we're getting to something. It might be a design thing. You said wood. I don't really care where the wood is from, but you said wood, and I was like, well, hold on, I'm listening now.
Yeah.
So it could be a design thing. Maybe I don't like the paneling. Maybe I just think the paneling looks cheap.
Hey, it's not a pretty home, right? It's not very pretty, but I'm buying it for support of that old
steel guy through and through. All right, let's move on to our third property. This is a property in Silverton, Colorado, Shawn. Not only is it a property, but it's an entire town square. So in Silverton, Colorado, there is a town square for sale. It was like an old mining town. I don't know if that's true. It's just like an old town. Now it's pretty, sparsely populated, but people still go to it. And in the old town square, there's a couple different buildings for sale. The total is $1.6 million. You do get, a couple businesses that come with that. There's, there's a shop business where, you can get gifts and whatnot. There's like an old timey photo business. The gallery that's for sale is included. There's also an apartment that comes with it. So you're essentially, that's the apartment that you're seeing right there.
Looks
you're
good.
essentially buying a piece, that's the photo, but a piece of the literal downtown in this like cute, quaint Colorado town. So Shawn, for $1.6 million, this historic mining town, are you in or out on Old Town Square?
Man, this is a tough one. I really like it. I think it's got some really good character. I just know nothing about this city, Silverton, Colorado. It looks like Silverton is maybe just that block that you're buying.
I think
maybe a little.
I think people in Colorado don't know anything about Silverton, Colorado.
That would be the reason I would be out, because I just think it's one of those towns that started in a time where there was the gold rush and there's nothing else supporting it. So it's just sitting there in the middle of the mountains, kind of wasting away. I think it's very picturesque and pretty, and it looks amazing. I'd love to go visit it, but I don't think I'm buying $1.6 million in this little town.
I don't know. I've done zero research. I don't know how to get there. Like you
That's
fly.
true too.
Like I don't think there's Silverton International Airport.
Look at this road. It's like
I gotta get Google Street View going. But it's not necessarily like, I think it was near Telluride.
right.
And I was like, oh, maybe I could, Telluride seems cool. But there's a problem. There's a mountain between them. I don't think you can just decide to just go over the mountain. I don't think it's as close as you may think.
Yeah, well, that's what I was pointing at when I was pointing to his computer. Look at this road. The road is literally diagonals like this. That means you're coming down a really steep mountain to get to it.
So look at this old-timey road. I mean,
it looks beautiful.
It's beautiful. It has the mountains in the background. Old Town Square is right in the middle. 1.6 million.
It's very cool. Unfortunately, there are little towns like this in Pennsylvania. I go through them a lot. There ain't nothing there, I think that's kind of the way this is. I mean, if it was Telluride, that's another thing.
You'd have to really love Silverton, Colorado. Yeah. Like if I lived in Telluride or insert a city that's maybe like a 4-hour drive away, I think I'd be in. But I hate to say it, but I think I'm out on Silverton.
Yeah, I'm out as well. Very cool. Let us know what you think. I mean,
what are you? Have you been to Colorado?
I have, yeah. I flew into Denver and jumped up on Route 80 and just drove through over to Aspen and back.
He's an Aspen guy.
No, I didn't go skiing. We just went for a ride to see it. And honestly, driving in Colorado is amazing. Every turn you take on Route 80 is let me picture. Pictures never do it justice.
So that's how you get to Telluride. You can't just drive over Lookout Peak.
It's literally 8 miles, but you got to go around the whole peak because it's just, wow. I never knew that. And where's, so that's Silverton.
Yeah. You just have, I don't know, the Rockies.
Telluride and Silverton are literally across the mountain, but you have to go a long way around that. Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, cool, that's Colorado.
Very neat.
Would love to visit.
Would
love to do a Colorado road trip. Again, I'm going to say it again. No one's ever said anything bad about Colorado, right? Just, a little hard to get to.
Yep.
Maybe it's landlocked.
Mountain locked.
That too. Yeah, there's no body of water. I've always lived where there's a body of water nearby. All right, would love to know your thoughts. If you're in or out on Silverton buying an Old Town Square and also the Jurassic Park house and also the historic Lustron. And if it's Lustron, pretty sure it's not Lustron. Let us know how wrong we are in the comments on how to pronounce that dang house. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.